All right. Hello. It is Sarah Waglow, astrologer and leadership coach here for Moon Astrology Tarot. This is for the moon in Virgo, February 23rd in the evening through the morning of the 26th. And so we will have that full moon peak. I believe it peaks in the overnight hours, the 23rd into the 24th. Of course, you can check out my full moon sun and rising signs video for all of that. But let's talk about this because we just had the Mars-Venus conjunction and we're kind of still working with that energy because they are going to follow each other a bit here. But also the moon's going to oppose Saturn in Pisces and ultimately Neptune in Pisces. And so we've just, plus we're working with Chiron being quite active, and this is the last full moon before the lunar eclipse, before eclipse season, the lunar eclipse on March 25th and the big solar eclipse on April 8th. So we're dealing with a lot of energy and a lot of change, and I almost the universe is like demanding that we make changes. Like there is no 2024. I thought 2023 wasn't fucking around, but I could have told you the first week of 2024 that 2024 means business. It is not fucking around. It is definitely time to make changes where you need to make changes. And I don't know what anybody got from, of course, I pre-record these, so unfortunately, I don't always know like what happens as the transits, which is one of the disadvantages of pre-recording them, is that I don't know what will transpire during a transit like the Mars-Venus conjunction on the 22nd. But what I can say is that because we are in Pisces season, which is a water sign, which is feminine energy, I think. Yes. Water and earth, I believe, are feminine. It's we have a lot of big changes and shifts, like paradigm-ish pendulum changes happening in 2024, and it's fast paced and it's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep yourself like centered, grounded. It's also hard to like focus on one thing, right? And so, which is why in my 2024 practical tools video, I talked so much about staying grounded. And so, because I mean, we're all like dysregulated nervous systems right now. And none of us is exempt from that. And, relationships are changing, alliances are changing on a larger scale. And things are changing in our lives, and wounds are surfacing, and people are feeling emotions that they haven't felt before, and all of these things. And so, I mean, like, there's this whole, like, Pisces can really be about self-care and caring for yourself because it does rule hospitals and healthcare systems. And Virgo, is about health and physical health. And so there's definitely this desire to pull back from the world at large and really tune in to ourselves despite the chaotic crazy that's happening out there. And so there's going to be shit you can't control, and you got to be okay with that. And there's also this like I said, people's deep wounds are surfacing. I have definitely been contacted by a few friends in the past month who are dealing with some stuff from like childhood trauma or abandonment or neglect, abuse, those sorts of things. And these are going to continue to surface. The universe is literally, you know, pushing humanity and each human into getting over and healing their wounds. I don't even like using the word getting over because there's got to be a healing process to it. You can't just say, fuck it, I'm done with that wound. I'm not going to deal with it anymore because it's always going to be there, right? I'm a long time I've experienced depression a good chunk of my life, and while I have I've learned how to manage quite a bit of it, I still have days, moments where it surfaces, and it just is. It just is. It's there. It's always gonna be there. There are times when I'm around, certain people, and their sarcasm gets to me, and I have to remember, I have to consider the source a lot. So I really invite you to think about A, consider the source, B, having the capability, or knowing or acknowledging that you have the capability to manage and control your own equilibrium. And if you're unable to do that, that's completely fine. Seek the help that you need to, learn how to do that, practice how to do that. When we learn how to practice, or when we're getting into healing and we start practicing different ways of managing our well-being, or managing our mindset and mental state and all of that, it takes practice, but sometimes you've got to be like extra conscientious and extra intentional about practicing what that is for you. So anyway, this is a powerful moment in time. I'm kind of buzzy even just talking about it. But I think, specifically as we get closer to the eclipses later in March and in April, but also as we continue to move through Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, which is going to be a thing until 2026. It's necessary to be with that, be with the healing processes as they arise for you. And very intentionally, like plug it into your reminders, plug it into your calendar. Remind yourself every day that you need to do a certain thing, whether that's reading your affirmations, or reading your, taking time for meditation, taking time to go take a walk. I, like, I'm not very good at routines, but I say that to say, like, I have reminders to tell me to, do a cleaning chore or something like that, right? Because I'm not good at those things. I'm not good at doing those things. And that's not because I'm a bad person. It's because, like, I'd rather be playing around creating new shit than I would clean my house. But now that I have my own place, like, I have experienced what it's like to have a super clean house, having stayed in Airbnbs and pet owners' homes that are very clean. And I'm like, okay, now I know what I want, but I have to still remind myself to do those things. So, and I think that's also just a part of depression symptoms, of like, not being up on your chores and things like that. But I'm very intentional because I want to thrive and not just survive. And so anyway, if you can take anything from that, like, first of all, be okay if you don't, wash your laundry, fold your laundry, and put it away in the same day. Like, that's the thing, right? But then those days when you do wash your laundry, fold it, and put it away in the same day, like, hell yeah, celebrate that shit, right? But also, don't be afraid to, like, put reminders in your phone, or however it shows up for you. Um, you know, put a note on your door that before you leave your house, take your trash out. Like, if it has to be that way, it's okay that it has to be that way, right? Like, it's interesting because I've been having conversations with my mom and her siblings, and they're like a different generation than me, obviously. And I have no clue where that card went. I'm gonna have to find it later. Hopefully that wasn't the card of the day, but um, but I've been having conversations with my mom and my aunt and my uncle, and they grew up in a different time where, like, they were diligent about their chores and things like that. And my generation was kind of more like fuck it and got lackadaisical about it. But I think there is a healing portion for us in choosing to have a well-managed, cared for home, or life or business or whatever it is, like a well-managed YouTube channel or a well, it took me a while to get into the flow of doing these videos regularly. I went through the shorts. I went through that actually started a year ago in February. When I started doing the tarot shorts. And then I merged into astrology and energies. And now we are where we are. And it's about to grow to the next level now. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's this, like, there's this generation of us that said, kind of, fuck it. We don't want to keep our house clean just to, put on a show for the Joneses. Um, we wanted to just, we would rather do, go party, go drink, go do whatever, then clean our house, do our laundry, wash the dishes, whatever. But now we're all, I'm guessing if you're in your mid 40s, you're going through a Uranus opposition. And so there's this opportunity to make changes in your life. And we get it with Pluto and Aquarius, and our Uranus is in Scorpio. So, like, this is just a huge opportunity. And if you're not in that Uranus and Scorpio era of, being in your, like, if you're 42 to 45-ish, you're probably in the Uranus opposition. But maybe you're in the 30, what would you be? 94 to 96. If you were born between 94 and 96, you're in your Saturn return. That's a great opportunity to make changes. And Saturn's now back to where it was when you were born. Maybe you are a Pluto Leo person. So Pluto is now starting to oppose your Pluto placement. So I kind of feel like no matter what aspect of an outer planet era that we're in, we all have an opportunity in some way, shape, or form. It's going to show up differently for all of us. But we all have this opportunity to make changes and really very intentionally choose how it's going to go, right? Whether, I could go on. Let me just stop. I think y'all get the idea. So let's see what's in the cards for us. I'll have to climb under my desk here in a second and find the card that fell. But we have the High Priestess in reverse. Ooh. High Priestess in reverse. This is Deanna Troy, Counselor Troy. High Priestess in reverse? Uncertainty. There's like some sort of uncertainty, maybe even some like shame or guilt around not having, not feeling like you measure up. I'm really feeling this is like about day-to-day tasks or your health. I feel like there's some uncertainty because of just all of the low frequency emotions, the anger, the guilt, the shame, and not giving yourself permission, grace, space to feel the shame around, like, shame on me for having bad health, shame on me for not knowing how to manage finances, shame on me for not knowing how to manage my household, right? Now I'm 45 and I just made like some huge financial that I have to clean up. Like, I make messes and I clean them up. That's kind of what this is like, you're gonna make mistakes in life. That's part of being a human. We're not perfect, we're humans. You make mistakes, you make messes, and you get to clean them up. If you're still waking up and watching this video, you still got time to clean up the mess, right? And I'm talking about the financial mess, the health habits mess, the house being a mess, all of those things. But I also respect and understand that if you're in the right or in a darker mental space, that it is hard to get up out of bed and take out the trash, clean the dishes, do the exercise routine or whatever. So find the thing that supports you, whether that's a reminder, whether that is using your Apple Watch rings to exercise. That is literally what I live on. whether it's just you choosing to have the feeling of your dishes being done at the end of the day because it feels really good when you wake up the next morning and you go to make your coffee and the dishes are done, or you don't have to like wash a dish just to eat your breakfast or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's what this high priestess in reverse is all about, is like there's a lot of low frequency emotions, the guilt, the shame, the anger, and you've not felt them, and now you're like, God, I'm such an idiot because I'm 40 whatever, I'm 70 whatever, I'm 60 whatever, and I still can't figure out how to, do this thing. Well, you know what? If you're still on this side of the earth, you still got time to make that change happen. So, okay, let's get and see what the oil is going to be. Um, Arbor Vitae, smoky quartz would be a good stone. Tiger's eye, protection stone. Citrine, um, any kind of grounding stones that you have or grounding oils that you have. Root chakra meditations and cleansings, balancings, unblockings. Eating root vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, beets, putting onions and garlic in your food. It, first of all, tastes tons better when you do that. Um, Drinking teas that have root in them, things like that. Let's see what the deck has. Um, and we have Roman chamomile. Promotes calmness and peace. Again, not my favorite. Not my favorite. I'm glad I mentioned all the other stuff I mentioned, but obviously chamomile tea, chamomile in your bath, those sorts of things. But there's also, what is the root? Oh shit, I just heard about it today. Valerian. I want to say it's valerian root that is also an alternative to chamomile if you're not a fan of chamomile like me. But I would say all those other things I mentioned also apply. Like I said, arbor vitae, vetiver, sandalwood, or even cedar wood, cinnamon bark, cinnamon things. If you, can go to the coffee shop and get yourself like a cinnamon dolce latte or something like that. But I would also say during all of this is lessen your sugar intake, just because like you can have like the cinnamon dolce tea or the chamomile tea, but if you're loading it down with sugar, you're actually just loading it down, making it heavier and denser in your body. Again, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just suggesting that maybe cutting back on the sugar, as we're all dealing with focusing on our bodies and whatnot. All right, so rambled on about that enough. Hopefully this was helpful. I love this energy, but I do understand that it is very challenging to work through. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you on the next one.